My favorite type of build in any game is always one that auto-reloads as you shoot while dishing out a massive amount of damage. Harlowe's Flux generator build does not stop there, as this thing can mob like crazy while also self-generating an infinite overshield. Mako's Buck here, and today let's go over the Flux Crit Harlowe build. As you may have guessed, we're on Harlowe and we will be using the green tree. I just want to add that green tree wise, this is nothing new. This is the very standard meta that has been around for Flux Generator Harlowe with some min-max tweaks to gear and weapons. We're going with all 49 points into green tree and starting with 5 points into momentum, which gives us 25% extra crit damage for 12 seconds whenever we entangle an enemy. Moving down to 5 points into Neutron Decay to give us 10% gun damage per stack whenever we irradiate an enemy. This stacks up to 5 times and lasts for 12 seconds. Over to the left is 3 points into Creative Overflow, which grants us up to 36% extra gun damage depending on the size of our overshield. And 2 points into Confirmative Reality, which restores a portion of our action skill whenever we shoot an entangled enemy. Heading down to our bottom sections with 5 points into Decoherence. This gives us 25% extra damage to all sources against tangled enemies. And 4 points into Feedback Loop. This gives us increased action skill damage, duration, and cooldown whenever we entangle an enemy. Heading over to the right with 4 points into Gamma Ray Burst, which is going to drain our shields whenever we re-trigger our action skill to give us bonus radiation damage based on the amount of shield we have. Moving over to the right with 1 point into Certainty Principle for a 10% increase to gun handling. This allows us to move down to 5 points into Critical Funding. This is crucial for the build as this will refill our magazine and entangle an enemy whenever we critically hit. This allows us to pretty much endlessly fire our weapon without having to reload, and just for even more radiation damage, we're going with 5 points into Meltdown. Augment for this build is going to be Nuclear Winter. This gives us bonus cryo damage whenever we are inside the Flux Generator's radius, which is going to be always because of our Capstone. Whenever we inflict cryo damage or radiation status effects, we entangle that enemy. The last 10 points are going to be 5 into Excited State for 35% extra critical hit damage, and whenever we damage an enemy with our action skill, the next shot on that enemy is a guaranteed crit. Heading down to the last 5 points, and that's Distribution Function, which is going to restore shields when we damage an enemy with our action skill. If we have a full shield, we'll get an overshield. Capstone for this build is going to be Group Study, which swaps our generator for a Halo sidekick. This sidekick will float over to you, putting a bubble around you that grants 25% increased gun damage, 10% fire rate, and 10% reload speed for each activation. This bubble will also apply to any allies with you. Specializations for this build are going to be the best defense, which is going to give us 30% extra damage dealt when at full shields or health, which we will always have. Riddle You This, which grants a 50% stacking gun damage buff as we deal gun damage. Since we are applying radiation damage, cryo damage, and shock damage, we're going with Compounding Afflictions. Enemies take increased damage for each status effect applied to them. And the last is In the Zone, which gives us up to 25% extra gun damage and critical damage when we ADS our weapon. Firmware is going to be a big shocker, and that's 3 Deadeye and 2 High Caliber for the massive bump to crit damage from Deadeye and 10% multiplicative gun damage from High Caliber. Now let's get into our gear, starting with the rep kit, and that is the Shiny Warpaint. Warpaint will give us 30% rate of fire and 30% movement speed on use for 15 seconds, and we're pairing that with Enrage for 30% to all damage dealt in exchange for 15% increase to damage taken for 15 seconds. Class mod is going to be the Bio-Robot. Whenever Harlowe entangles an enemy, create alternating cryo and radiation hazards. This class mod always comes rolled with 60% hazard damage, and mine has 20% increase to all damage dealt. Shield is going to be the Watts for Dinner shield, which will drop overshields off enemies when we are at max shields, and when we have an overshield, it will give us 25% shock damage to all outgoing damage. You will want to pair this with Siphon for a 5% chance to passively grant you an overshield while dealing damage, and Amp to eat those shields and grant you 100% gun damage. We'll be using a Deadalus weapon as our main weapon, so our enhancement is going to be a purple Deadalus Enhancement with Accelerator to jack up our rate of fire per each bullet fired. You will also want triple weapon damage perks on it, which brings us to our main weapon. Our main weapon is going to be a radiation rolled ceramic bod with torque impact magazine and SMG firing mode. SMG firing mode is going to pair very well with wanting a very high RPM, and impact magazine will cause our gyro jets to instantly explode since we will not be reloading with this build. Other weapons that work very well with this build are the Ripper Shotgun Mode 7 Cents, Radiation Wombo Combo, or even the Oscar Mike. Just be sure to always match your enhancement with your main weapon. Your play loop for this build is going to be Toss Flux Generator, which is going to float a bubble over to you, pop your rep kit, use a throw ordnance, retrigger action skill, and fire an unlimited mag bod. If you're going to use a throwing knife on this build, use the suppressor knife and not the penetrator augment crit knife. Just a reminder that this entire video is timestamped if you feel like you missed something or you want to jump around. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. See you next time.